Emergency Services Committee meeting for Thursday, June 17th, 2021. And we will start with a Pledge of Allegiance, and we have some flags up there. If you'll all rise and join me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you very much. Now we'll have roll call, please, Carrie.
DeGanga. Vero.
I'm here.
Fagion.
Here.
Sierra.
Present.
Sassy.
Here.
Lujan.
Present.
Hines.
Here.
One absent.
And you want to just announce the other legislators present, because I can't see everybody.
Sure. Majority Leader Benelli, Chairman Brescia, Legislator Cheney. That's all I'm seeing right now.
Peter Tui also.
Okay, thank you. Did we get someone from the DA's office yet?
I don't see anybody on here. Unless
Kevin, I just called over there, and Chris Borik's going to track down Rob Conflitti. He knows about it. He just might be running a little bit late.
Okay, so we're going to move to number 2 then. I see Mr. Worsbicky's on. I don't know if Mr. Casey's on, but we'll go to number 2. So I need a motion to request and appropriate the remainder of grant funding for the statewide interoperable communication grant program for the period of 1/1/20 to 12/31/21. Funding was previously accepted under resolution number 54 of 2020. The capital funding will be reallocated to cover additional operating expenses for maintenance and monitoring of the new completed Chunk P24 radio system and the purchase of portable radio equipment and accessories. Capital project number 376, $822,055. Alan, you going to handle this for us? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll move it on.
Motion by Mr.
Second,
Fagion.
Vero.
Okay, I got Sassy and Fagion. Mr. Worsbicky, the floor is yours. You're probably muted, Alan. I don't hear you.
There we go.
Mr. Worsbicky, are you there?
Okay, yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. The floor is
Okay.
yours.
All right, so, yeah, the grant was for $822,000. We had allocated $500,000 to go toward the project and $320,000 to offset operating expenses. We then further moved our $322,000 to offset to fund leasing and fiber. Then we moved an additional $320,000 out of to operating expenses to offset tower rentals. And that left us $179,896 left in equipment that we were going to use for bidirectional antennas at Orange Regional Hospital and the county building. We've had problems with COVID being able to get in those buildings and getting the work completed. So we want to move that $179,896 from equipment to tower leases, which will once again lower our operating budget.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Worsbicky? Okay, I don't see any. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? So carried unanimous. Now I see Mr. Conflitti is with us, so I'm going to go back to number 1. Need a motion to request and abolish 1 chief criminal investigator position and create 1 deputy chief criminal investigator position. Motion, please.
Motion, Vero.
Second, Fagion.
Second from Fagion. Mr. Conflitti, the floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for coming back to me. I apologize for being late, but Zoom and Teams do weird things sometimes. Forgive me. Yeah, we've had two chief investigator positions for a while now. The incumbent in one of them retired about 6-8 months ago. As a result, we've kind of got in a place where we have strange chain of command issues sometimes with two chief investigators. We don't really need the two. We do need someone with a supervisory authority in the Newburgh office, though, and we've had someone operating, someone whose title technically is Career Criminal Unit Coordinator, one of our general line investigators being paid out of class for a little while to undertake the supervisory responsibilities over the investigators in the Newburgh office. So what we're seeking to do is do away with the one vacant chief investigator position, create a deputy chief investigator position, which would have that supervisory responsibility over the Newburgh office. Put the investigator that's really been doing that work in that position and take it from there. There'd be no additional investigators hired. It would just be a change in title for one and moving him from one budgeted position to another.
And that comes with a savings of about $4,000, I think.
Approximately, yes. He's been being paid as a chief investigator. That's all we had out of classification for a little while now. In the long run, that will end up in a savings to our budget.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Conflitti? Okay, I don't see any hands, so we'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, so carried unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking me back out of turn. Appreciate it. Have a nice day.
You too. Now we're going to move on to number 3. And we need a motion to request to authorize the approval and execution of an intermunicipal agreement between the counties of Rockland, Sullivan, Ulster, and Orange for hazmat equipment for the regional hazmat team under General Municipal Law 119-0. The requirement was already accepted under Resolution number 85 of 2021. However, the Rockland County agreement is asking for General Municipal Law approval. Have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second,
Second by
Fagioli.
Of Mr. Sassy and Mr. Fagione. Vinnie, you going to handle this one?
Yes, I am. So,
Okay, you're all set.
okay, thank you. So, as the resolution or this agenda item states, this was actually the participation in this regional grant was approved in a prior resolution. The agreement we received from Rockland County actually had a different law referenced in it. So essentially we had to come back for an updated resolution quoting the correct law, which is 119-0. Basically everything else is the same as when we had it approved previously.
Okay, so we had already approved the money. This is just a simple legal issue. Anybody have any questions for the Deputy Commissioner? Seeing no hands, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No one's opposed. Approved unanimously. Mr. Sierra, I now see your hand up. I'm sorry, whatever you have, the floor is yours.
I'd just like to be added to that resolution, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
You got it. Thank you. Okay, next we're going to move on to the Sheriff's Office and need a motion to discuss the corrections report, please.
How you doing? Captain Catletti here.
How you doing? I got a motion from Mr. Sassy and a second from Mr. Vero. Captain, the floor is yours.
Okay, as of 0700 this morning, our facility head count was 454, of which 138 are ICE detainees and 67 are marshal orders. Our revenue through the end of May was $3,397,489. We have had an influx of ICE detainees over the past couple weeks. So our count is going up. Along with that, though, we are also had to open additional housing units to accommodate. And in addition, we'll be pretty much opening almost every unit we have, if not every unit, due to new legislation with the HALT Act and the impending medication-assisted treatment programs we're going to have to provide.
And I understand I know the sheriff had mentioned to me during the week that he was able to get a bunch of people from New Jersey, I guess, we either ICE or Marshals, I don't recall which.
Yes, ICE.
Got it. So you took in additional ICE prisoners. Do you want to just tell us a little bit more about what you just said about opening more units? I'm not sure everybody's familiar with that.
With the impending HALT Act that we have to begin our training for now, that was signed already into law, we have to actually create transition units within our facility for inmates that have disciplinary issues. They basically, you have a disciplinary unit for severe infractions, but before we can put them back in the general population, they have to go into a transition unit, which would be supervised by security staff and aided by mental health professionals. The medically assisted treatment programs is similar, that inmates that come in that are chemically dependent, there'll be a variety of medication that can assist them in detoxing, but with that, they have to have their own dedicated units as well for transition back into general population. And this is in addition to our regular classification, ICE classification, and our male-female population.
What do you mean by security staff? Is that hiring additional people that aren't COs?
That's current staff we have. I mean, right now we have 25 vacancies, so we are hoping that eventually those vacancies will be opened up so we can start hiring and get back up to par.
But when you say security staff, are we talking about COs or not?
We're talking about correction officers will be in the housing units along with mental health professionals, yes. They wouldn't be additional. It's what the staff have here.
I'm just confused by the term security staff, that's a CO, isn't it?
Yes, correction officer.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right, does anybody have any questions for the captain? Any questions about the report in its entirety? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. Now we will move on to the sheriff's report, and I need a motion for discussion, please. I have Mr. Fagione and Mr. Sassy. I guess Under Sheriff Jones, are you taking this, or Sheriff? I see you're both here.
Yeah, I'm taking it.
Okay, floor is yours.
We did put in for 15 vacancies recently with the county exec's office, by the way, for the jail. Overtime spun up because we had to open, like the captain told you, everything is open except for one pod right now. And so between the new legislation and the influx of ICE prisoners, we're mandatoring about 30 people a day right now. So for the sheriff's report, sort of an ordinary month, you'll see activity is back up because everything is beginning to open up and activity is climbing. In particular, you saw some activity in the Deadbeat Dads Task Force this month. They brought in about 12,000 in rears, and everything else is just gaining traction, and the numbers are coming back.
Okay, is the boat back on the water yet?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for the undersheriff? Okay, I don't hear any. Sheriff, anything you want to add?
No, just on the corrections. When we get to the end of the year, we're just documenting. We have vacancies, and the overtime will probably, it's spiking right now. So I just don't want to be. I don't want anybody to say that we didn't document this with the committee, that there is, if we're 25 vacancies. That's going to go to a lot of overtime, and the new ICE prisoners or detainees. I'm sorry, the new ICE detainees. I don't know what your net is going to be. if you're paying overtime, obviously you'll net a little bit, but it wouldn't be as much as if you had those budgeted vacancies filled. So I just want to document that with the committee.
All right, and those 15 were approved by the executive's office or no at this point?
We're awaiting approval.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Mr. Sierra, your hands up?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Sheriff, while you made that comment, are we seeing any savings since the enrollment numbers are down, or are we seeing more ICE detainees? I didn't get a chance to thoroughly go through the corrections report, but I see we're still down on numbers, on inmate numbers. So are we seeing any savings there, or are the savings?
Well, I mean, in years past, we've been up, what do we budgeted for this year? Kevin, you probably know, probably 8, is it 7.5, 8 million? What do we budgeted for in revenue this year?
For revenue, I think it was close to 9.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, it's up there. Joel, anytime you see, a reduction in ICE, you're going to see the reduction. You're still going to make money. There's still going to be revenue there. But, the lower the numbers, that margin, goes down. So, but we were lucky enough to, have, our facility obviously is, with all the accreditations that we have, and then the audits by Nakamoto, that, we're one of the premier ICE facilities, in the Northeast, that we were able to take, the prisoners, or the detainees from Jersey, who I believe their legislation is eliminating ICE detainees, from local facilities. And I think I've said this for the last 10 years that, that could end tomorrow for New York State too. So we just have to, keep you, the transparency as to, what could happen, where we're at, what we're doing. But after all that, yes, if, there's still revenue coming in, but that diminishes, as vacancies build up and as ICE prisoners diminish. So Under Sheriff or Captain Catletti, if you want to expound on that, I think I've explained it pretty well.
So
Under
my
Sheriff,
question,
floor is
Sheriff.
yours.
Well,
Go ahead, Joel, I'm sorry.
I think the issue that came up, we were fortunate to get 50 more ICE prisoners, which from now to the end of the year is a little over 1.2 million in additional revenues from what we were currently making. And but the legislature creates 2 more classifications at the same time. So now you have prisoners that were formerly housed together having to get split up between new units. And, I know there was a lot of talk about underutilizations of jails last year going into this budget year, but, the legislature and the state government failed to mention anybody that they were going to create these new classifications that expands the usage of your pods. So every time you open a pod, you have to man it 24/7. And that leads to, greater utilization of manpower. Now, we had been able to cut back and we were carrying like 25 vacancies, but we're not going to be able to continue that. We're going to have to fill in vacancies in order to not wear out your workforce. Right now, the people who work 7 to 3 and 3 to 11 are getting stuck between 2 and 3 times a week.
So the governor was hot and heavy that we were going to see savings with this bail reform. And I
Yeah,
know you spoke against it, and you're against this whole. I get that, but the enrollment numbers have been down. Are we supplementing those enrollment numbers with ICE detainees? And if we're doing so, are we seeing? Is the revenue? My question is: the revenue worth the overtime? The comparison. You understand? If we're bringing
I
in
understand.
ICE detainees from New Jersey, and we're paying more overtime, because I see the overtime is really not fluctuated that much from last year. So my question is it paying off for us to bring in these ICE detainees? And are we supplementing those numbers of the inmates that have dropped because of the bail reform? Are we raising the numbers of inmates with ICE detainees? Does that make sense?
That makes sense, but bail reform, like we had mentioned going into this year, was a temporary thing, mostly because of COVID. Because now that you see the police agencies and the courts coming back up, you're going to see an influx of prisoners. Although you may not have them as initial bail, but once people start to be sentenced again, then you'll have a population build back. And that's complicated by the legislature, who created 2 more classifications. So, for example, if they were all housed together in one unit prior to this, you may have 3 units for those same prisoners now, depending on what their classification is. And so, even, it's never about the total number of prisoners that you have in the jail. That doesn't equate to lower prisoners means less money. It's how those prisoners are classified. And classifications require housing units to be open. So the more classifications they create, the more housing units you have to open, despite the number of prisoners you might actually have in your custody. And I hope that is clear.
It seems like a very complicated subject, which needs to be, looked at in detail. I'm not sure if the classifications, who classifies them, who's in control of the classifications, and not only that, can you join multiple classifications together in one unit? I mean, I'm not a professional. You guys are professional.
No, that's what you cannot do. That's the point of classifications. When you classify prisoners, it means you cannot mix those classifications. And so, easy one, male and female, right? You can't mix male and female no matter what. And so there's all sorts of classifications, and the state just created 2 more.
Gotcha.
You all set, Joel?
Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna have to call you guys offline and kind of get a better understanding. So we are bringing in more ICE detainees. That's
Yes.
the bottom line, right?
Yeah.
And we're making the same
That's a
amount
good-
of money on these detainees.
Yeah, the ICE detainees are a good thing in that, they house together. So
Yes.
if you have half of pod of ICE detainees and you bring in more and you fill up the pod, you haven't expended any more manpower and you filled cells. But the other side of the population is basically split 50-50 now between local prisoners and the boarders. So the local prisoners have a lot more strings attached to them on how you classify them.
Just one comment on the ICE prisoners, Joel, and the rest of the legislature, those 50 we brought in. And Captain Catletti, correct me if I'm wrong. They were all negative for COVID still. I mean, we're still doing our screening and quarantining processes, but their initial testing, I believe, all, if maybe just a few, were all negative for COVID, which obviously continues our good record of keeping COVID out of the general population.
Yes, out of the ones we brought in, they were all screened prior to coming in. The tests that we gave here, we did have 3 that did test positive, and they've been isolated since they walked in the door, and they're currently under quarantine protocols now.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Fagione, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Under Sheriff. Those classification changes that you had said earlier, you said they were made by the legislature. Just for clarity, that's the state legislature. That's not us. We didn't make those classification changes.
No, I don't think a local legislature or county legislature has the authority to create classifications. That's the state legislature. It's part of the MAT program, the MAP program, medically aided treatment. That's something that we were ahead of the curve on in a grant with Darcy Miller to have medically aided treatment in the jail. And now they passed it into law. We were doing it without having to separate all the prisoners, but now the state passed the law and you have to separate the prisoners.
Thank you, Under Sheriff, for that. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any more hands up, so that'll conclude the presentation from the sheriff's report. Now we'll move to item number 5, and we have a special presentation from Assistant Under Sheriff Tony Weed about the tasers and body cameras. This is something that the Reform Committee had suggested. I know the legislature supported it. The sheriff's office was in favor of it as well, as long as they could deal with the saving of the videos and the cost of the overall project. So now you're going to hear that, and I guess we can decide where we're going to go after that presentation. So Deputy Under Sheriff Weed, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. Everybody received the information that we handed out, emailed out ahead of time?
Yes. Yes.
Good. So moving forward, we were looking for, at the recommendation of the Police Reform Committee, a product that was, one, offered a lot of storage for us. We want to retain storage for at least 18 months. In case there was any lawsuits or anything that comes up, we want to be able to at least store that data and that video for 18 months. We were looking for something that was going to be easy for the deputies to operate, because as most of you are aware, if you have to add decision-making into what you're already doing, the more decisions you have to make, your response time and your reflexes slow down. So we wanted something that was going to be easy to operate. We're looking for reliability, ease in training, and obviously cost effectiveness. So currently we use tasers, which are a less than lethal measure that we can take people into custody should they fight. And we found that Axon has a body camera that is interoperable with the Taser 7. One of the things that is beneficial to us with this is it offers a complete package where it gives us all of our training cartridges that we're mandated to use on an annual basis, which right now costs us, everybody has to fire 2 cartridges a year. So it costs us right around $9,000 a year for just training with the cartridges. This includes all that. In addition, it also, instead of having to pay for instructor classes, this includes the instructor classes every year and a master instructor class every year as part of the package. Master instructor is roughly $2,500, $2,700 a year if we were going to send somebody to that. Regular instructor course is about $750. This is included in this package. In addition, we have 13 Taser devices that are inoperable right now. They're off a warranty. That's a cost of about $19,500 in order to repair those. If we go with this package, all repairs, everything's included. The cartridges are included. Duty cartridges are included. Training cartridges are included. Cameras are updated throughout the life of the contract, which is a 5-year contract. So if new updated equipment comes out, they replace it. The other thing about the ease of operation is if the officer or the deputy deploys his taser, it automatically activates the body cam. In addition, there's a device that they'll give us that we'll put on our holster systems for our firearms. If we draw a firearm, it'll automatically activate the body cam for us. And the most beneficial part of this is it's unlimited data storage for an indefinite amount of time. That helps us in a couple different ways because we can add the facility camera system. We can upload that information, that video to the storage system free of cost. I don't know if anybody here has been aware, we've been trying to look for servers and things like that because of the large amount of data that we've been trying to store for video from the jail, which is roughly $500,000, if I remember correctly, was the number for a server. We can upload all that information to Axon's web-based platform and store it, and it's ease of operation, accessibility for lawsuits. We can send links to the DA's office. We don't have to download it, burn it to disks, and we don't have to purchase any more servers to do any of that.
It's served up on the cloud, right, Tony?
Yeah, it's cloud-based. And it's also trackable. So there was some issues about security. This is tracked, so it tells us anytime somebody gets on and looks at a video, how many times they looked at it, the length of time that they looked at it, where they were when they were looking at it, any action that they took to it. So there's zero chance that anybody can delete a video without somebody knowing it. As you all know, with the discovery laws, the district attorney is bound to give the information and evidence to the defense attorney. They can just send them a link to the video, and we could track how many times the defense attorney looked at the video and how long they looked at the video, so they can never say they never saw it. What it also does for investigative purposes, any video like the Ring doorbell systems or cell phone video, if we're trying to work on a case, we can put out to the public and ask them if they have any Ring video system or cell phone video of an incident, that they can just upload it, and we can put the link right on our social media, and they can upload it right into the same cloud storage system for ease of review. And investigative purposes, it just makes it a lot smoother for us. The other part of this is the VR training system that's included with this. This is a virtual reality training system that comes with it. As you know, there's been some cases here out in Minnesota where the police officer drew her firearm thinking she was drawing her taser. This system will allow us to put officers into high stress environments and train them with their weapon systems in a virtual reality platform, which is something we haven't been able to do. And we have real-time feedback on that. The other thing that it allows us to do is incorporate the civilian population and bring them in, and we can put them in a VR system so they can see from a citizen's point of view or a suspect's point of view of the entire event, and when that's all recorded on video, so we have a good interaction with our community. And that's all included in the package. So now, to talk about the price, if you guys look at the last page, I don't believe I sent you both. The original cost was.
Tony, before we get to price, are there any questions out there? Do we want to get into, before we talk price, let's ask for any questions, any clarifications that you may need.
Yeah, how are they going to deal with it if somebody is in the building and cleaning their gun or cleaning their taser or getting changed? Is there a block? I know you were concerned about that initially, that if somebody took their taser out, everybody's camera would trigger at once because neighboring officers, their cameras trigger if someone in the vicinity pulls either a taser or a gun, right?
Correct. If they're in a close proximity, 21 feet, I believe it is, the body cams will activate. But you're required, using your taser, you should be taking it out, doing a spark test, make sure it's operational. So that'll all be recorded on a body cam. So that'll show that they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing.
No, but I'm concerned that your camera is going to go off and you're in a meeting because you're a room away from them while they're doing that. We were concerned that everybody's camera, say in the office, is going to trigger because the guy in the locker room is doing something with his belt or whatever.
No, we discussed that with the company, and that shouldn't be an issue. It tells you when your camera is activated, it lights up and vibrates. So if it does come on remotely, we're going to know that. We can turn it back off, and it would just be an anomaly. We can just record that in the system when it downloads.
Okay, thank you. Barry, I see your hands up.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Are there multiple companies that provide this pretty much similar service that we'd be in some sort of a competitive procurement for the services we're seeking?
So there's a GSA contract. State Police just also purchased the Axon, and we have a sole source letter from Axon. They are the only one that provides a body cam that is integrated with the taser system that we currently use. It'll be an upgraded version, but the same weapon platform. They're the only ones that provide that service. All the other companies have a 30-day retention in their base price, and then everything else would go substantially up from there. This is unlimited retention, unlimited amount of data.
Okay, so you mentioned that it was a GSA
contract, federal contract.
So,
yep.
Okay, so we'd be working off of somebody else's procurement.
Correct. State Police just entered into a contract with them for upwards of $43 million.
Okay, Thank you.
Anybody else have questions before we get into pricing? Right, I don't see any hands, so go ahead and proceed.
Okay, so the original amount that they quoted us was $1.7 million. We're going to be able to trade in our cartridges and existing tasers, even the ones that don't work, for full price. They're going to give us a discount of $129,278. That leaves us with 1.5, well, we'll say $1.6 million. That's payable over 5 years. First year installment of $414,000, and then 4 equal installments of $294,921 over 4 years. So a total price of 1.594, 146.
But you get all the equipment up front and it's just a 5-year.
Everything, yep, everything is up front. The body cams halfway through the contract are automatically updated to the newer versions. All the updates, the software updates are all included. Any issues with the body cam, the taser, or any of the hardware is replaced throughout the contract. All our cartridges are included, training cartridges, training suits, the VR training, all the updates for scenarios are included. Everything's included in the package.
What about the security of the cloud? Is only the sheriff's office have access to it, or how do we know that no one else can get that?
Only the sheriff's office has access, and we can give the district attorney's office an account, so they have access to certain video for depending on the case. If they have to have access to video, we have to download video. They need video for their cases. We can send them a link and they can access it. It is tried and true military grade encryption. Axon has been around for 30 some years. Their cloud-based system has been up and running for probably close to 20. They have great security measures put in place.
Glad to hear it. Under Sheriff Jones, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to, if you think back following the Police Reform Committee, we wanted to go forward with body cams, but only under specific conditions that would allow us to capture all of our video, not to select video that we need to keep and then find out we didn't select the right video at a later date. This was the only company out here that really passed muster through our staff. All of us tearing at the contracts and tearing at the offers to make sure that we have every single thing we needed and has unlimited storage so that we can capture all the video that we have rather than try and select incidents like a lot of PDs are doing. And we told you that then, is that they're selecting incidents to keep, things that they identify. And if you remember, even Law joined us on that it's best to keep 100% of the video you make because you don't know when it'll be important. And if you delete stuff, invariably, that's going to be the stuff you need at some point later.
Is there I assume the individual officers can turn these cameras on themselves. You're going to develop SOPs, I assume, or operating procedures. When they turn the red lights on the car, does that trigger the camera too? I know there was a system out there that did that.
No, not with the body cams. We used to have in-car cameras. Then when you turn the in-car camera systems on, the lights on your car, it would turn the in-car camera systems on. We don't currently have in-car cameras. The Axon body cams you can turn on independently. We actually have policy already developed and ready to go once we move forward with the purchase, and it just has to be implemented and trained up.
All right, sounds great. Under Sheriff Jones.
The way these cameras work too is when they go on, they capture previous data. How many seconds is it, Tony?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. So when it goes on, you capture the prior 30 seconds as well.
So it's constantly recording. It just only saves once you hit the button 30 seconds prior to you hitting the button or activating your taser or drawing your firearm.
And I presume the batteries last at least 12 hours in case people
Yes,
go overtime?
Yep. So the batteries are good for 16 hours. It includes all the cartridges, all the chargers, spare batteries, all the mounting systems, because there's different ways to mount it on our uniforms or our vests. or we can put it on our glasses. It includes all that.
Okay,
the batteries
anybody
go-
else have any questions?
If a battery's going bad, it's not lasting through a shift, they're gonna give us, we have extras up front, extra cameras, extra batteries, so we just send back the defective one and just put the new one in service.
Okay, anybody with questions?
Chairman, Sheriff Du Bois here. Tony or KT, correct me if I'm wrong again, as far as retention and a police officer or a civilian that needs to manage this system.
The introduction of body cams and the work associated with that is something we talked about during the last time we were talking about manpower. This is a full-time job without question for someone to do, and it takes proper supervision for obvious reasons. I think in the budget, you'll see a request for an additional lieutenant, and I assume we'll have a discussion during budget time related to that. But this is quite the undertaking when you really think about how much data is going to be assembled right from the get-go.
Okay, I think that's a great, oh, Barry, your hand's up. Go ahead.
Yep. Thank you, Chairman. Just a question about the camera turning on and then it saving the previous 30 seconds. Is there an option to increase that at all to a minute or 2 minutes?
Yes, it's programmable. I believe it goes up to 90 seconds. We can program it. So it'll capture 90 seconds prior.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Kevin, if I could, there's a whole host of
Sure.
other things that are included in this. There's a redaction component. There's a dictation. It automatically prints out the words that are being said in the video. That's all part of the package. It's included with the software that comes with it. And there's also the ability to upload video to social media right from Axon's cloud-based system. With the redaction function, it just makes it easier if we have to get information or video out in a timely manner. We don't have to go through a big, long process of trying to change the format of the video to get it out. It's automatically done through their software system.
And it also enables remote viewing in emergency situations.
Well, it sounds great to me, and as someone who sat on the reform committee, I know everybody was in favor of it. And actually, I think all the legislators were in favor of it as well, depending on the cost and the storage and things. So this looks pretty good to me. This is the presentation only. We're not voting today. So if anybody has any other questions, or if you want to follow up with Deputy Under Sheriff Weed with other questions later, that's fine as well. I'm sure he's amenable to that. I don't see any other hands, so I'm assuming everybody's comfortable with the presentation. So
Good use of that.
presentation.
Good use of the ICE money. You know, we've really dumped that ICE money back into the general fund over the last 10 or 12 years, whatever it is. And I think it would be a great investment, a great way to put that money back into looking the forward thinking of the sheriff's office. And you could $200,000 and $300,000 a year is like I say, just a small piece of that. So I think that would be a good reinvestment.
I agree, and thank you for that. We appreciate your contributions to the general fund, and we're always looking for more. What are you at, 50 million now? Is that what your resume projects?
Oh no, we're over 100 million since we started.
Okay.
Thanks for the
All
question. I
right, so
appreciate it.
yes, so that concludes the presentation, and the desk is clear. I'll take a motion to adjourn, please. And,
So moved.
I think I hear Mr. Fagione.
Second, Sassy.
All right. Mr.
Thank you,
Sassy.
Chairman.
Thank you very much. All right.
Thank you, Chairman.
Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you,
everybody.
Chairman.
Thank you. Great informative presentation.
Thank you.